Yes, hello everyone. Can you hear me? Yes, super. Thanks. So, welcome to the final training session of this single window module that we have been discussing about for the past few days. First of all, I would like to thank you for being here today. Unfortunately, I'm a cold, so I would like to excuse excuse myself if I'm not heard very well. If there is any problem or if you cannot hear me very well, just raise your hand. Now, in this last session, we will be discussing about some technical transfer issues of the international practices of European standards. And more precisely, we will be covering a European project, a European funded project called EMAR that was assigned by the European Commission. It's actually one of the two that the European Commission assigned in the past 5 years or so with the sole requirement of developing a prototype single window that can be used by the different competent authorities throughout Europe. So we'll be discussing this experience, what were the issues there, what were the main issues actually, because as you can understand and based on what we've said so far, you can all understand that there were quite many issues in developing a single window and implementing this single window all around Europe. Too many authorities, too many problems, too many cultures to change. So let's start. Introduction, some short background on single windows that we will be using and we will be heavily referring on, the state of play, what EMAR did, and some questions and answers in the last slides. Now, the issue, why do we really need a single window, a truly single window? Well, of course, we all know that the maritime industry is a globalized one, but the thing there is that we would care less if processes and activities were streamlined. Uh, Reaching and calling throughout different ports, reaching and calling ports throughout the world is a very, very different situation. It requires a lot of people to get a lot of paperwork in front of them and check them and control them and release the paperwork and release cargoes. We've discussed that a lot in the first presentations, but you can understand that there are a lot of functional requirements that have to be met, along with business requirements from the companies themselves and regulatory requirements. Now, there are a lot of localities, a lot of local issues that have to be addressed. For example, we've discussed about the administrative procedures that different countries, different member states in the European Union have, or even different administrative procedures ports have. For example, you may call, let's say, port of Civitavecchia and then call port of Piraeus, and each of them having a very different requirement in terms of forms that they accept or forms that they have to check and they have to control. So there are a lot of different issues that have to be addressed there. Taxation issues, immigration, safety and security, waste, health, protection, a gazillion, a ton of different forms that have to be prepared each time. Keep this on the back of your head. We will be discussing this through some very fancy slides towards the end of this presentation of how this single window really looks and how these things, these items here, may be put into the bigger picture. Now, said that the European Union has had this objective, this vision to automate these processes. So the European Commission said with the directive 65, number 65 of 2010 that was adopted, that everything in the maritime supply chain has to be automated. Everything has to be completely run through computers. They didn't specify where these computers may be sitting, but the idea is that everything is run through a computerized system. Actually, the ideas behind this directive, the idea behind this directive was that first of all, streamline the processes, but the second and most important objective is to be able to run through all of these different data that were sitting, they were reposited in a specific database, to run through them and make all the necessary checks and controls. Now, uh, this goes hand in hand with the big data rush. Now, I'm speaking from the academic point of view, how to transform data into information in huge piles of forms of data, of paperwork, of whatever. Now, if you have it in a physical form, going back to what you said in the first lectures, if you have it in physical form, it takes a lot of resources. It takes too many people to go through them, check them, and pinpoint interesting information out of it. If you put it on a computer, of course, you can develop, and this is what EMAR or single windows in general are value proposing. You can have specific procedures run in the background and checking everything. And of course, you can, at the end of the day, develop risk-based management systems in terms of taxation, of immigration, of all that stuff. So it's easier for the authorities to check it. Now, back in 2012, the EMAR project was commissioned. Actually, it was proposed in 2010, as early as the directive number 65 was put into place. It was the EMAR project was proposed to the Commission, and the idea was of this proposal was to address these issues and to help the European maritime industry in terms of ports, in terms of shipping companies, in terms of logistics and transport operators, actually in terms of everyone directly or indirectly involved into the supply chain and into the transportation chain, help them upgrade their systems, the systems that they have been using so far, the isolated, siloed ERP systems that they were using. So, in this respect, this EMAR project addressed these e-maritime concepts that the European Commission put on forward and tried to develop and test the systems that can enable, or they could enable, easy exchange of documents and of information between the different stakeholders and the different authorities, and among pretty much every agent in this fuzzy, sort of speaking, network, exchange information on an access based, sorry, on a rights based access. That is, if I have the right to see any sort of information, then I can access this information. If I don't have the right, if I'm not assigned to see any information whatsoever, I cannot see it. And that was the most crucial in terms of success metrics issue, and also the most crucial in terms of IT development criticality. Now, some background on what this project entailed. First of all, the competent authorities across Europe are quite many. Each and every state. So, guys, is there any problem? Okay. Sorry for that. We said that the competent authorities across Europe are quite many. Each member state has its own competent authorities. Each competent authority may not be speaking with other competent authorities within this state. And the base scenario, the base case is that these competent authorities do not speak one another in an EU level, on an EU level. So have a lot of different competent authorities in terms of number, in terms of scope, in terms of origins, and so on and so forth. For example, you have trade, transport, hygiene, taxation, economic and fiscal, quite many different authorities over there. And then these competent authorities should also be complemented with the port authorities and some transport operators that are assigned directly or indirectly from the national government. They are assigned a similar role of checking what comes through or what is the situation with them. For example, port authorities, of course, are in pretty much all of the European member states are responsible for whatever moves through their infrastructure, through their facilities. On the other hand, the recently adopted AEO, the Authorized Economic Operator role that the European Commission developed for the different transport chain agents, they also are responsible for whatever they are moving. Otherwise, they are, of course, losing their permits or their licenses and so on and so forth, and they have other legal issues too. Now, there is also, to complement that, there is also an extensive range of case-specific and authority-specific and country-specific regulatory requirements. So, in each and every different country, there is something being done a little bit differently in most of the cases compared to the previous call or compared to the next call. The huge issue now is that although there is a consensus that there are a lot of different regulatory requirements, and in most of the cases even conflicting one another, there was and there has been a lack of common understanding, and this is one of the barriers that the European Commission is trying to overcome these days. There is um, a lot of misunderstandings between the competent authorities. For example, competent authority A in country Y needs a certain field that another competent authority B in country X doesn't really need it. But you can imagine if you have forgotten to fill in this field in your forms, you may end up having your container being delayed in a port or in an inspection area and so on and so forth. So that is an issue. Now, the compliance support systems have not considered the specific needs of SMEs, and that was another issue that the European Commission needs to address. We can all understand that the large multinational corporations and the competent authorities have the capacity and the capability to invest in new systems. But what about the small and medium-sized companies in the transport sector? And actually, by the way, these are about 10 million companies in number. You can see that there is a lot of scope over there, and there is a lot of necessity in these niche, in this market niche, for these companies to have something that could help them comply more with all the requirements. And of course, no one disregards the modern trade requirements, and of course the passage from quality and the passage from quality or cost or whatever into speedy transport chains, and actually being agile and being quick is the motto these days in building up successful supply chains. Now, based on this background, a number of initiatives were adopted by the European Commission, And the most important was the concept of a single point of interaction, both on a B2A, business to agency, and agency to business. And what I'm purposely not writing there is the business to business itself, the so-called single window. I would have the obligation only once to put in, to fill the information required throughout Europe only once in one single interface, and then this interface, the systems behind that, they would disseminate and fuse this information to all the relevant actors. Now, single windows were the first systems that were developed by customs, and the idea was the trade facilitation. So they didn't want for the customs brokers or customs agents to arrive day in and day out with all the paperwork with a gazillion of T2L or bill of lading documents arriving in the customs and making all the declarations when there has been availability for these operations to be submitted, to be fulfilled from an office, from the desk office. Now we said that the main document that we will be basing this discussion on today is the EU Directive 65, number 65 of 2010, which is also called the FAL Directive. We're gonna see in 2 slides from now what the FAL means. And what was the status up to June 1st? Well, the European Commission required from all European member states to have a single window no later than June 1st, although this has been, as you can understand, this deadline has been broken, and now we have delayed it for at least, this was delayed for at least 6 months. Personally speaking, I think that this is going to be further delayed because I'm not quite sure whether the member states are ready or have the systems in place communicating one another in order to have everything set up. Now, this all single window stuff is based on the recommendation number 33 from UN. UN has been discussing about single windows as a system that can facilitate electronic business. Quite many different approaches, quite many different systems were proposed. For example, here I have the single automated system where the trader puts in information in this system, and then this system fuses this information to different authorities and communicates bidirectionally to all these different authorities. And another option of this system where again the trader, the agent, speaking more broadly, puts in information in the single automated system, and then this system only fuses some information to different authorities. Different concepts here are being proposed. It all depends on the specific model that each authority has, the specific business model, actually operational model that each authority has, rather than the IT capabilities. For example, the second case is more crucial or more ideal to authorities, for example, looking and checking for drugs and guns and narcotics and stuff like that. In these cases, there is no bidirectional communication on the premise that this information is eyes-only information. In the first case, a more broader concept is introduced where authorities can have bidirectional communication with the single automated system, because at the end of the day, none really cares if, for example, a ship gets 2 tons of fresh water or 3 tons or whatever. So it all depends on the specific business model, the operational model that this authority has. The idea, however, behind this was, as discussed earlier, to improve the exchange of information between trade and government, be able to save on resources, be able to monitor the paperwork more efficiently. And that was the main idea. And by the way, a short definition that the United Nations Committee for Europe gave a definition for these single windows as systems that constitute a facility allowing different partners involved in this trade or in the transport of this cargo to log in information that is, first of all, standardized and second of all, documented somehow with a single or through a single entry point. So in this case, by doing this, fulfilling all important import, export, and transit related regulatory requirements. You only did it once. You had this single system, put in login information, and everything else is then taken up by the system itself. Now, the national data set. So according to UNESE, the simplification and standardization re-engineering activity, we talked about a little bit about re-engineering briefly last week. The simplification standardization re-engineering activity should start with the government's clear objective for the way in which the national dataset will be used, particularly with respect to the interaction with other national, European, international systems, trade facilitation, safety, security, and border management. Now, this goes along to the discussion that we had a couple of slides ago, saying that all member states have different requirements, all member states have different ideas on what the necessary or the required information is. All of them have different forms and different procedures and so on and so forth. Now, UN suggested that, guys, please do sit down, discuss all the different the different ideas that you have, all the differences, and arrive to a common denominator. This is the national data set. It's the common denominator of information that is needed from all the different authorities. And this common denominator actually is the collection of the necessary and the required information that has to be submitted. It's not an information that at the end of the day is not necessary, and this is the reason why re-engineering, heavily important re-engineering, should take place and has taken place so far in order to help streamline these activities. I mean, what's the purpose of, as we've said before, of building a new system if it's actually this system is going to just automate the old systems? The European Commission and the UN tried to shift a little bit these boundaries and produce new systems that would enable trade. Now, the national data set that has been agreed upon includes workflows, as we've said, how the paper, for example, the form, moves around the different departments, along with the format of the form, the layout of the form, that is, the terms that are there or should be there, coding and analysis that is required, the services. So in each node, what sort of controls of checks, of inspections, or whatever are taking place, and of course try to move on from the as is, the bureaucratic sort of speaking as is situation, to a future state where these processes are better, of course, are enabling trade, are enabling and facilitating communications between the different authorities or the different agents or the different roles in the transportation chain. Now, related activities from other stakeholders in, at least in the agency level, you may understand, you may easily have understood that the European Commission was not the only one introducing different systems, different single windows. Actually, the World Customs Organization had its own perspective for single windows. Uh, Actually, all of these organizations, I'm just going through a couple of them right now, just to indicate what the thinking has been. The idea, however, is that all of them have a common vision of what a single window should look like, and more importantly, what a single window, what sort of activities a single window should undertake. So all of them had, sort of speaking, the same ideas, the same visions, the same objectives in this process. Now, first of all, the WCO single window proposal made use of ICT and dataset standards that are commonly accepted by the relevant public and private stakeholders. And of course, what they tried to do was to harmonize the commodity descriptions, the coding, one of the information intensive items in the national data set. And of course, the WCO data model and the unique consignment reference was one of the proposals put forward in order to modernize the transportation chain. For example, the unique consignment reference is a unique reference, a unique number that is assigned to a consignment, and it follows this consignment throughout the transportation chain until the cargo is delivered. Actually, these ideas follow quite closely the IATA airway bill, e-airway bill contributions that were made earlier and have been quite successful, actually. The second thing is that agencies involved in integrated border management should determine themselves the essential data for their controls. And by the way, they should exchange, and that was the difference with the European Commission, where the European Commission asked from all the different member states to contribute the essential data and come up with a single data set, control data set. And in cases where the inspection of goods is necessary, the single window should be used for the coordination of the physical inspection among the different relevant agencies. Now, if you have any issue whatsoever, this single window, well, based on the World Customs Organization perspective, should coordinate itself in an automated way the inspection, the physical inspection. Imagine the automated the gates actually in the airports, where when you go through, sometimes it pops up and redirects you, or well, it indicates to the to the personnel over there, to the authorities, to perform a physical inspection. You know that most of the times this is a sorry about that. Okay. Oh, can you hear me now?